This is a tutorial on how to do a cold and dark startup of the new Learjet 24B by Lionheart Creations. And basically, to start the engines, we switch on our fuel pumps down here on the fuel management panel. Check your park brakes are on. On your electrics panel, we're going to go to your batteries. They're on the center of the top row. Switch those on. Panel comes to life. And then on the outskirts of the battery switches, you'll see some larger starter toggles. And what we're going to do is they're spring loaded, and we're going to hold it down to start the turbine. If you watch up here on your tachometers, when she gets up to about between 9 and 10%, she'll catch. She should. Wait for that to spool up. They take a lot of power to start the CJ610 turbines. And there we go. Engine number 1 running. Now we take that same switch and we flip that up so that it's in generator mode. Now if you look over here, we have no power coming in. Alright, so now we have our left-hand generator or alternator is now online and she's charging. We go over here to engine 2. Now usually you'll run out of battery power pretty quick if you don't have this the first engine in generator mode, because most of the battery power has gone into starting your engine. It's like that on the actual Learjet, and you'll actually have to wait a moment to start your second engine, as you have to recharge your batteries so that it can take another dive with starting up the secondary engine. So let's go ahead and start that. And watch the tach. It should get up to just under 10% RPM. There we go, she's running. Now you'll notice that if your generators are not on, you'll see that on your annunciator panel. And so we'll just turn those on, and you'll notice that the lights are now off. Now these two red lights are for your inverters, your power inverters. Your power inverters are located here on your electrics panel also. So flip those on. And your inverters supply AC power to the aircraft. Your AC power is mainly used by your autopilot. The autopilot, this is your autopilot panel down here. The servos are pretty heavy duty that work the control surfaces. So without AC power, the servos won't run, so your autopilot will be offline. So always make sure your inverters are on. Inverters are on, no red lights. Okay, now we just have caution yellow lights. Cautionaries are not required. You can turn them off if needed. It's just the yellow color is sort of a, to let you know that something is not on. You override that. If you don't need your heaters on, then it's not red. It's not an emergency. So we've turned on our inverters. We turn on the hydraulic pump. It's required for some of your controlled surfaces, your landing gear. Alright. This over here, your bottom toggle of these three next to your AC temperature controls. This is your cabin pressurization master switch. You want that on. You can hear the pressurizer blower in the background. Next we go over here. And these are all of our heaters for the airframe. You've got windshield and radome, windshield electrics. We have the stabilizer and wing heat. We have the engine intake heaters. And we have dual pitot heat heaters. So we're just going to turn all those on. This is not necessary. Manual auto. And then that's about it. We now have all of our electrics running. Now you would also turn on your lights. All of your light switches, your light toggles, are down here in the bottom row. And so here's your strobe, beacon, and nav. Now on your landing and taxi lights, you have lights on each side. And what you do is, if you're just running your taxi lights, you flip the switch up to the center and you mouse drag these. That's a lot of technology in that animation, but they're two position switches, and you don't just click on it, you have to drag it. Okay, so you drag it up there to the top for landing lights, and center position for taxi, and off is down. So that is that. That's all your lights. That's all, basically all of your electrics. You should now that you have your inverters on and running, and you have power going, you should now have autopilot. And you see that the green light comes on, so the circuit's good, autopilot's good. Now these switches, these are your fire bottles, your fire extinguisher bottles that put out the engine fire if one of the turbines should catch. So you would, to activate these, to arm them, you push them in. When the light's off, they're on, they're armed. If they're off, that's that cautionary yellow color. And then to check your annunciators to make sure they're working, there's a little button underneath, a little spring-loaded push lever. You just push that, and you'll check all your annunciators work. Everything looks good. And this is kind of a fun thing I did. This is in case you have a fire, an engine fire, you would hit this, and I included a sound effect alarm, and then there's a flaming engine effect on the back on the engine. Kind of a drastic fire effect, but anyway, it's kind of neat. And this is pretty cool too. This hidden black button, it's unmarked. This is pretty cool. If you tap it, these are all of your key switches that show you things that you need to know about that are on the instrument panel. So it's kind of neat. They're called bubble info placards. Like hide passengers. You can hide the passengers in the back by touching the seat. You touch that, and they hide. This one's loaded as well. You touch this seat, and they appear again. So that's that. Now I should tell you about this. This is electrical. Let's go ahead and get rid of the bubbles. These are your light switches for the cabin. This is your cockpit, instrument panel, and this is the rear cabin lights. It's kind of nice, you know. Everything's on its own separate circuit, so you don't light up the entire aircraft. You just light sections, and so that's pretty neat. Also, these little annunciator panels, you can check them by tapping on them to make sure that all the lights are working underneath the covers. And that's about it. That's how you start up the Lear. I should tell you, this is how you shut it down. Since we can't do it with the throttles like you do with the actual plane, we've made it to where you turn off the jet pumps, and that will shut the engines down. So now to create another cold and dark, you would just go through and shut down all your switches that have been turned on. And that's it. That is how you start the new Lionheart Creations Learjet 24B. Thanks and happy flying.